right, coming to you again today with another question. And yes, I'm recording several videos in a row because I have several questions to answer for you, which is why I'm in the same outfit. I think it's really interesting how men can put on a t-shirt or they just kind of wear the same thing and they always look good, right? Like there's these handsome men recording, and as a woman, I feel like I'm supposed to change my shirt and have a different outfit on all the time. And I was like, I don't want to do that tonight. You get me tonight in my green tank top and black sweater. And I'm just going to keep recording until the cows come home and I feel like I'm done. So today's question is, it says how to make yourself trustworthy as a parent. I have 3 things for you. I'm going to repeat the question. How do you make yourself trustworthy as a parent? So before I go into the answer of that, why I'm talking about this is because I see a lot of parents who are struggling, particularly in the teenage years. It can start earlier on, but a lot of times the conflict and frustration comes up in the teenage years based off of kind of how things were done in the earlier years. And when there is strong bonds that are formed and strong connections that are formed earlier on that continue to grow into their teenage years, things tend to go smoother once they hit those teenage years. But if there's been maybe some things that are off, or maybe some things that weren't done that should have been done to create those bonds or create those connections, when you get into the teenage years, you can see this kind of unfolding of just a lot of discord in families, a lot of frustration between teenagers and their parents, and there's a lot of conflict that can happen, and it can kind of send teenagers off where they just want to do their own thing and not have anything to do with their parents. And it can send parents into this space of just utter frustration because their kid's not listening. And so I see this a lot with people that I work with friends, with family. I've seen it in my own relationships with my kids about there's this space of tension that can rise up in teenagers. And that is actually for multiple reasons. But for today's video, I'm going to talk about specifically how to make yourself more trustworthy as a parent. And when you create trust with your child, it's going to help all of the tension calm down. You're still going to have some, because we're human beings and every human being is different, and we all have different moods. We all have different cycles. We all have different sleeping patterns and eating patterns, and we all are our own individual person. And therefore that does create at times different waves of working through a mood or working through being tired. And so it's not tension-free, but what I'm talking about is the excess tension of just simply trying to have a peaceful home. So how can you make yourself trustworthy as a parent? I have 3 things for you today. The first one is stay true to your word. If you tell your teenager or any age of your child, if you tell them you're going to do something, follow through and do it. Do not break your word. You need to be following through with your word 8 out of 10 times. Sometimes life happens. Sometimes you have to change or rearrange, or something was forgotten or miscommunicated, and there is grace and room for that. But you really want to be a person that when you say you're going to do something, when you say they can do something, when you've given them permission to do something, when you've communicated what a plan is, or something that they're looking forward to, or maybe a promise for something special in the future, you need to do as everything in your power to stay true to your word. Your word is a proven track record if they can trust you or not, depending on how you follow through. And I have struggled with this at times, and I learned very quickly that what it does when I would be, sometimes it was not intentional. I was running around doing the best I could, and I was spread too thin. I had too much going on. I wasn't organized with my time or my schedule. This was many, many years ago. And I learned during that period, oh my gosh, as a mom, first I need to freaking slow down and actually manage what I have going on in my life. And if I don't have time to manage everything, then something or multiple things have to go for this season of time. And there was a valuable lesson that I learned by letting go of things for seasons of time. And so then I got to a place where I was able to manage my schedule, able to manage the responsibilities that I had. And so I was able to get back to a place where when I would say we would do something, we would do something. I mean, sometimes I would even say, hey, we're going to go get ice cream tonight. And something else might have come up in the afternoon and I would think, oh, I want to change plans or this or that. And I would either go, oh my gosh, no, I need, my kids are looking forward to that. And it might seem silly and it might not even be as important as the new thing that came up, but it didn't matter. What was actually the most important is that I was following through with my word, creating a trust with my children that they can rely on me. And so now if we really did want to change plans, what I will do is we will collectively come together, talk about the decisions that we have and make a decision together as a family, and that's not always a perfect scenario either. And I would definitely still not do that very often. But that's the first thing that you can do to make yourself trustworthy as a parent. Number 2, treat them like they are their own person. Because guess what? They are. Even though they are your child and they are a baby, 2 years old, 4 years old, 9 years old, 13 years old, 17 years old, etc., they're still an individual person. And I also see this at times when parents are struggling with their kids and their relationships with their kids, that it's almost like this, how do I explain it? It's almost like this feeling of, they just need to behave or do what they're told, or yes, we connect, but I'm still the parent, I still know more. And all of those things have their place. But when you have a mindset that this human being is belongs to you and you own them, that it can kind of put you in a place where they don't feel like they're seen as their own person. And so that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about giving breathing room inside your relationship with your kid, where you look at your child, no matter how old they are or how young they are, you see them as an individual person and you respect that identity. So as they grow, as they're little and as they grow, they will have this feeling from their parent and they won't be able to articulate it. They won't be able to say what this is. It is a feeling. It is an energetic transference that happens between you as a parent and them as your child, where you are giving them autonomy over themselves as their own individual person. And how you do that is you just have a respect for them. You respect their thoughts. You respect their bodies. You respect their opinions. You respect their, moods, things like that, I want people to respect me and I want my kids to respect me. I want everyone outside of my home to respect me. I'm going to teach my children what that feels like. And I'm going to respect them no matter their age. And so that is the second way that you can build trust with your child. And it's a really crucial step. It happens underground, right? It's not in front view. It's not a transaction you can name. It's a way of thinking. And so maybe marinate with that. If you've not really kind of tapped into this idea, let it sit and marinate. Maybe watch this video a few times and let that idea kind of soak in a little bit more. And if you feel like you've got this in the bag, then you probably can see you actually probably have a great relationship or pretty darn close with your teenager, because it's just such a huge element that if you're doing it, they feel that. If you're not doing it, they also feel it, but it creates tension. So number 3 is give space for their opinions. This might seem very elementary, but let's think about this a little bit more. Give space for their opinions. Like I said, step number 2 is respecting them as a person. And one way to respect them as a person is to respect their opinion. And this is especially crucial even if you don't agree. As a parent, we want to empower our children to think. We want to empower our children to stand on their own 2 feet. We want to empower our kids to be able to speak their mind and speak their voice and be able to dissect ways of thinking, belief systems, how they're feeling. We want them to talk about all of these things. And in order for them to have a safe and trustworthy space to actually come up and talk about things is to be able to hear them even when they're crazy, even if you know they're wrong, even if they're totally, completely wrong and you're just sitting there going, I can't even believe this came out of my kid's mouth. Like, that's okay. It is okay for them to process out loud to you, and they will if they trust you, and they will not if they don't. So now I'm going to take this one last step further. It's not a step on how to become more trustworthy, because I'm going to leave you with those 3 tips for tonight, but I'm going to wrap up with the idea of, okay, so your teenager feels like they can trust you. They're opening up and telling you things about how they think, what they believe, their opinions, their thoughts, their feelings, and let's just say 80%. I'll give you an example of my life. I would say 80 to 90% of what comes out of my teenagers' mouths, I agree with. One, because I've been the one teaching them for years kind of about what we believe as a family and what our family culture is. And so they're in ways indoctrinated, right? That's the beautiful thing about the day and age we live in, is we have the privilege to raise our kids the way we want to. And it is a privilege. And I take that very seriously about how I want to empower my kids. And so all that to say, I would say, 80, 90%, they are speaking about things and talking about things, dialoguing about things that we do kind of see eye to eye on, because again, they've grown up in my home and I've taught them. But they've also started to own things for themselves. They go do their own research. They go talk to other people. They have other mentors in their life. And so there's this refining process of those belief systems, of their thoughts, of their feelings, of their ambitions. And so that's really good. But there is a good 10, maybe 20% of stuff that comes out of their mouth that I go, oh, this is nope. Don't. I'm thinking, oh, if they were just a few years older, we're probably going to get there. It's probably going to be okay. But in those moments, it is so crucial where I just hold my tongue. I don't say anything. I'm quiet. And I listen and I seek to understand them. And here's where the magic happens. If they feel like they can talk to you about anything without this, preaching coming back at them, or, oh, here comes all the advice that they really don't want to hear, or here comes all of mom's thoughts that they've heard a million times, or here comes, the disapproval look on the mom face, right? And so and I've done all of those things at times. But I do work very hard to be intentional about giving them space to be wrong, giving them space. Maybe they are right. Maybe I'm wrong. And what that does is it communicates to them a foundation that they're accepted, they're loved, they're heard, they're seen. And all of these things communicates to them, I see you and you are valuable. And when someone feels valuable, they feel safe. And if they feel safe, they know they can trust you. I hope that this video has been helpful for you. It is probably one of my favorite subjects to talk about because I think it's such a crucial piece of raising kids, especially nowadays where there's just a lot of confusing things outside of our home and we're trying to navigate everything the best that we can. And one way to have influence on your teenagers is to create a relationship where they can trust you. And this is how you do it. All right, we'll talk soon.